Alright, this is a review for our quadratics test. I'm going to follow the problems that are on your worksheet. I will tell you what number I'll be working on, so follow along. This might be a little bit more of a lengthy video. If that's the case, you can scroll forward, skip ahead, or pause so that you can replay and rewatch some of these problems. I might get interrupted. I am filming during school during planning period, so I might get interrupted, in which case I may have to turn this off. However, bear with me. So for the first three problems, they're not as difficult as they might seem. If you read the instructions say very plainly, you need to classify these problems by the degree and by how many terms are in each of them. So we're going to look here. This has three terms, three pieces being added or subtracted. So that makes it a trinomial. Okay, this was only one term in it, so it is a monomial. This has two terms in it, two pieces being added together, so it is a binomial. I'm slightly dyslexic, not very much, but binomial. Okay. Now, to categorize them by degree, refers to the highest exponential power in that particular expression. So this has the highest exponential power of 4, so this has a degree of 4. This, the highest exponential power is 2, so it has a degree of 2. And this has the highest exponential power of 4, so the degree is 4. Now, I'm not beyond mistakes, and I might make them. However, this is what you'll be tested on tomorrow, or how you can list how you can label the problems that will be on the test, similar to this. Now, something you need to know are problems 7 through 11. It asks, what is the name of this graph? These type of graphs have a name. We call them a parabola. Or another way I remember it, it's a mathematician's disease. We call it a parabola. But you can try to remember however you like. But the name of the graph is called a parabola. Now the question is next, is it a maximum or a minimum? So we're going to look at this graph. In either case, if it looks like a hill, it's going to have a maximum point on it, right? So that's maximum. If it looks like a valley, it's going to have a minimum point. So maximum or minimum. So you need to make the decision. What's it going to be, maximum or minimum? The next thing it asks you for is find the coordinate of the vertex. Now that maximum or minimum point is called the vertex. Okay? And what they want you to do is they want you to identify the ordered pair that describes that vertex. So here I go 1 and then down 2. So the ordered pair for this vertex is 1, -2. That is your vertex coordinate. Now, the next question is, what's the axis of symmetry? Now, this is very easy. The axis of symmetry always runs through the vertex. So if I want to know what the axis of symmetry is, just look at the x-coordinate of your vertex. The axis of symmetry is going to be x equals +1. Alright. So there's your axis of symmetry. And the last question is A positive or negative? Now you can look at these graphs and the quadratic function model, and what they're referring to is the coefficient here in front of the x squared term. You can determine if it's positive or negative based on the shape of our parabola. If the end of the parabola goes down, this coefficient here will be negative. If the parabola goes up, it will be positive. Positive, negative, positive, negative. So this A would be negative. And for this one, A would be positive. Okay. Now the other problems on this particular worksheet, I've done similar examples already on other videos. I'll do some more. However, I want to cover one last piece that I think is a little more complicated or complex. It's number 19 through 22. Now, you have to read these instructions. If you don't read the instructions, you're not going to understand what it's asking you to do. in the big bold print right above number 19, it says, complete the table of values and draw the graph of the equation. Then answer questions 19 through 22. So what I'm going to do is I've written the equation up here for you. I'm going to erase the rest of this so you can see it. And we're going to draw our table of values. I'm going to show you how to construct that. Then we're going to graph it on a grid that I'll make here up on the board. Alright? So just quickly erasing all of this right here. We're going to create our table of values. Now, you're going to ask me, how do you select the x values for our table? Okay, so here's our table of values right here. What do I do to pick those x values? I start out with small numbers. Like 0 is a small number. 1 is a small number. I'm going to go with 2 and 3. And these I just kind of picked them at random. That's okay. Alright, I don't know what this graph is going to look like exactly, so I'm going to pick some numbers that are going to give me a picture. Alright, if I pick the positive part of the numbers, I'm going to also pick the negative or the opposites. Alright, just to see if there's two sides of this graph and what it might look like. So how do we find the y values? Well, it's quite simple. You can use a calculator to do this next piece, but if you do it by hand, this is how you do it. You're going to take your equation, and you're going to rewrite the equation, and instead of writing the variable x, we're going to substitute the number we've chosen in for x. So we have x squared here, so instead of x squared, I'm putting 0. Squared minus 4 times 0 minus 3. So everywhere you saw x, I now have 0. Be careful, if you put in the calculator, I recommend putting the parentheses in as well. The square goes on outside of the parentheses, and even if this were a negative number, that negative would go inside the parentheses. Okay? So if you punch in your calculator exactly like this, it would give you the exact answer, which I'm going to show you. We simplify this expression. 0 squared is 0. Negative 4 times 0 is 0. And minus 3. So 0 minus 0 minus 3 leaves us with y equals negative 3. Okay, so when x equals 0, y is negative 3. So I got 1 point. But we have to do this again for each of these points right here. Okay, so if I plug in 1, y equals 1 squared minus 4 times 1 minus 3. Okay, so simplify this, and if you simplify this, you would end up with 1 squared, which is 1, minus 4 times 1 minus 3. So this together is negative 7. Positive plus a positive 1 gives you negative 6. This is negative 6. So y equals negative 6 when x equals 1. So substitute 2 in. And yes, you do have to do this. Is this tedious? If I'm taking time to record how tedious this is, yes, you need to show all of this work, all these steps, just to make sure you got it right. Now, if you're plugging this in the calculator, I don't expect to see you simplifying it. I just want what you wrote, what you put in the calculator, and then your answer. Okay? Just so that I can see the process and what happened. So what, this is 2 squared minus 4 times 2 minus 3. Okay? And you punch it in the calculator, you would end up with negative 7, if I'm not mistaken. And if I am mistaken, that's okay. You make mistakes sometimes too, you know. So, I'm sorry, one more time. 4 minus 8 is negative 4, minus 3 is negative 7. So this is negative 7. And then if I insert 3, y equals 3 squared minus 4 times 3 minus 3. 9 minus 4 times 3, that's 12. 9 minus 12 is negative 3. Minus 6, or minus 3 is negative 6. Minus 6. Okay, we're going to continue going. So negative 1 plugs into this thing. So I got y equals negative 1 squared minus 4 times negative 1 minus 3. Y equals, that's negative 1 squared is 1. Plus 4. That's 5 minus 3. 2. Make sure I did that right. 1 plus 5 minus 3. 6 minus 3 is 3. Oh, negative 6. Okay, this is positive 3. So y equals positive 3 here. So let's do negative 2. Negative 2 squared minus 4 times negative 2 minus 3. We're going to do the same thing here. So it's positive 4, positive 8, minus 3. So that's 12 minus 3 is 9. Oh, 9. And I know I know this one is going to be 18. because I've plugged in the calculator already. So what do you do from here? You've created your table, you've done this laborious task. You know, it's easy to say, okay, I'm done. Be careful. Tests tend to make people stressed out. It makes people try to end sooner than they need to. You need to check, make sure you're done. The instructions say you need to complete the table of values and draw a graph of the equation. So we're missing the graph, so we need to draw a graph. So I'm going to draw this graph. Okay. On your test and on your worksheet, you have a graph. I don't have that luxury, so I'm going to just kind of estimate here at 0, -3. That's my point. So 0, and then go down 1, 2, 3. Remember, order pairs, x first, then y. So 0, -3. Now I got 1, -6. Or 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, and then I got 2, -7. 2, -7. So my chart's not perfect. Yours is going to be a little better than mine. 3, -6. 3, and also that's a -6. -1, +3. -1, 1, 2, 3. -2, +9. So -2. I think that's off the chart for you guys. So I'm actually not going to draw it because you won't draw it either. And -318 would also be off the chart. So let's just connect these dots. You connect them. It's going to look kind of like a J. Extend it. It's going to look like a parabola. We're expecting it to look like a parabola. So go ahead and extend it. Now you're able to answer the questions 19 through 22. 19 is going to be state the coordinate of the vertex. The vertex is right there. There's this about -7. If it doesn't look perfect, approximate. It's okay. This is just a beginner's math. So 2, -7 is going to be my vertex. That's where it is down here. Then it says find the axis of symmetry. Remember, axis of symmetry goes straight through the vertex. So I know that the axis of symmetry is going to be x equals +2. Okay. Then it has you find the domain and range. That's review from the first unit of this year. Domain is using the x-axis. How far to the left and right is this graph going to go? And because these arrows continue on forever, not just upward, but to the left and right, our domain is going to be x is between -infinity and +infinity. Okay? And our range goes from the top to the bottom, or from bottom to top. The lowest point of this graph is -7, and the highest point of this graph goes on forever, so that's +infinity. Okay? So those are the pieces that that should be really easy, not so complicated. This looks like a lot of work, but that's what it is. It's just a lot of work. It's not complex. You're plugging numbers in and simplifying it to get your y values, and then you're plotting points on a graph and connecting dots. That is all you're doing. It is easy, as it sounds. It just does take a little bit of work. Okay? So go ahead and get through that. I'm going to do a part 2 of this session, so this video isn't terribly long, and I'm going to focus on factoring, adding, subtracting, and multiplying polynomials.